Philippe Lazzarini, the Commissioner General of the UN Relief Agency for Palestinians, UNRWA, has described the toll of 3 weeks of non-stop Israeli bombardments on northern Gaza. He said his staff are reporting shortages of water, food, and medical care, with the smell of death everywhere across the territory because dead bodies are being left under rubble or lying on the roads. Missions to clear the bodies or provide humanitarian assistance are denied. In northern Gaza, people are just waiting to die. They feel deserted, hopeless, and alone. They live from 1 hour to the next, fearing death at every second, Lazzarini said in a post on X. He called for an immediate truce, even if just for a few hours, to enable Palestinian families to flee safely without being killed by Israeli bombardments. This is the bare minimum to save the lives of civilians who have nothing to do with this conflict, Lazzarini said. UNRWA provides education, health, and aid to millions of Palestinians in the Gaza Strip, the occupied West Bank, Jordan, Syria, and Lebanon, with the agency acting as the backbone of aid operations in Gaza since last October. Sweeping evacuation orders for the estimated 400,000 people still living in the northern third of the territory, the blockage of aid and food deliveries, and the targeting of civilian infrastructure have led to accusations that Israel is committing the war crime of seeking to forcibly displace the remaining population. The Lebanese Red Cross said 3 paramedics have been injured in an airstrike on South Lebanon while on a rescue mission coordinated with UN peacekeepers. 4 ambulance teams were dispatched to the southern city of Nabatea in coordination with UNIFIL after a strike there, the Lebanese Red Cross said, adding that the site was bombed again and 3 volunteers were injured and are being transported to hospital. Israel's army on Tuesday called on residents of a southern Beirut suburb to evacuate ahead of operations targeting what it claims to be Hezbollah's facilities in the area. For your safety and the safety of your family, you must evacuate these buildings and the surrounding ones immediately and move at least 500 yards away, the Army's Arabic-language spokesperson Avichai Adri wrote on X alongside a map showing 2 specific buildings to be targeted. Benjamin Netanyahu holds talks with Antony Blinken in Jerusalem. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu held talks with Antony Blinken in Jerusalem on Tuesday, after the U.S. Secretary of State arrived in the country to push for an end to the war in Gaza. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is currently meeting in his office in Jerusalem with U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken, the Israeli leader's office said in a statement. A Hezbollah spokesperson has acknowledged that some of the militant group's fighters were captured by the Israeli army without giving numbers, adding that Israel bears responsibility for their lives. On the issue of captives currently held by the enemy, I know that the enemy is not committed to the ethics of war and international conventions, but it bears the responsibility of preserving the lives of the captives, spokesperson Mohammed Afif told reporters, calling on the International Committee of the Red Cross to ascertain their safety. Israeli jets hit a Hezbollah target close to the Rafik Hariri University Hospital in Beirut late on Monday, but did not target the hospital and it was not affected by the strike, the Israeli military said on Tuesday. During a press conference on Tuesday, the director of the hospital, Jihad Sadeh, said Beirut's main government medical facility had sustained damage due to an Israeli attack nearby. We were subject to an attack yesterday. Whether it was targeted or not, we don't know. But Israel has no red lines, Sadeh said. He said debris, likely from heavy ammunition, damaged the hospital's solar panels and front facade and shattered its windows. While there were no casualties among the staff, efforts to rescue people in front of the hospital were ongoing. We won't evacuate the hospital following the targeting of hospitals in Dahia. We are the only one left, Sadeh said. The war between Israel and Hamas has devastated the Palestinian economy and left nearly all of Gaza's population in poverty, with quality of life indicators such as health and education knocked back 70 years, the United Nations Development Agency said on Tuesday. Launching a study on the war's socio-economic impacts, the UNDP's Chitos Noguchi said the economy of the Palestinian territories, the Gaza Strip, and the Israeli-occupied West Bank was now 35% smaller than it was at the start of Israel's invasion of Gaza a year ago. By some measures, the poverty level in Gaza was now approaching 100% as a result of the disruption, with unemployment now at 80%, Noguchi said. The state of Palestine is experiencing unprecedented levels of setbacks, she told a UN press conference in Geneva over a sometimes crackling line from Deir al-Balah. For Gaza, reversing development by an estimated 70 years to 1955. Even under optimal conditions, with international aid remaining at current levels and flowing into Gaza and the West Bank unhindered, it would still take at least a decade for economic output to recover to pre-war levels, she said. 3.3 million Palestinians, 2.3 million of them in Gaza and 1.5 million of them children, need urgent humanitarian assistance, the report said. The cost of repairing damaged infrastructure was expected to run to $18.5 billion, almost the entire annual economic output of the Palestinian territories in 2022, said the report. 625,000 students in Gaza had no access to education at the end of September, and 93% of school buildings were severely damaged. The situation was similar with regard to healthcare. A total of 986 health workers had been killed by the end of September, and less than half of primary healthcare centers were even partially functional. Hezbollah claims responsibility for drone attack targeting Netanyahu's home last week. Hezbollah claimed responsibility on Tuesday for a drone attack last week targeting the home of Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Hezbollah declares its full, complete, and exclusive responsibility for the Caesarea operation targeting Netanyahu, spokesperson Mohammed Afif told reporters. At least 13 people were killed and 57 others injured in an Israeli airstrike on Monday near Hariri Hospital, Beirut's main government hospital, the health ministry said earlier today in a revision of previous figures. At least 42,718 Palestinian people have been killed and 100,282 injured in Israeli airstrikes on Gaza since October 7, 2023, the Gaza Health Ministry said. Philippe Lazzarini, the Commissioner General of the UN Relief Agency for Palestinians, UNRWA, described the devastating toll of 3 weeks of non-stop Israeli bombardments on northern Gaza. He said his staff are reporting shortages of water, food, and medical care, with the smell of death everywhere across the territory because dead bodies are being left under rubble or lying on the roads. The U.S. Secretary of State, Antony Blinken, arrived in Tel Aviv for his 11th trip to the Middle East since the war on Gaza was launched by Israel last October. It is being reported that Blinken is trying to reinstate the stalled diplomatic process for a ceasefire and to urge Israel to allow more humanitarian aid into the northern part of the Strip. Air raid sirens sounded in Tel Aviv in the morning after Hezbollah said it bombed the Nirid area in the city's suburbs with missiles. We have some more comments from Iran's foreign minister, Abbas Araghchi, who has been speaking to the media in Kuwait. The below is from Lebanon's national news agency, INNA. Araghchi told journalists during a press conference, "We are closely monitoring all the U.S. bases in the region and keeping track of their movements. We are also sharing information about the U.S. base in Jordan with the Jordanian authorities. The decision to implement a ceasefire rests with the Lebanese government, and Iran will help them to achieve this," the Iranian foreign minister said. When asked about Iran's preparedness for the expected Israeli response to Iran's October 1st missile attack, Araghchi said, "All the countries in the region have expressed their opposition to an Israeli attack on Iran, especially on its nuclear facilities. We emphasize that Iran will respond in kind if Israel attacks." He said Israeli forces are committing war crimes with the help of some Western countries, including the U.S., which he said does not abide by international rules. Attacking nuclear facilities is a major international crime, and threatening to do so is also a crime, Araghchi added. They know what response awaits them if they attack our nuclear facilities, Araghchi was quoted as saying. Israeli forces have detained at least 28 Palestinians across the occupied West Bank, the Palestinian Prisoners Society and the Commission of Detainees and Ex-Detainees Affairs said. According to Wafa, the Palestinian news agency, 15 detentions were carried out in Al-Arub camp, north of Hebron, while the rest were in the areas of Ramallah, Salfit, Bethlehem, Nablus, and Qalqilia. These detentions were accompanied by widespread raids, assaults, threats against detainees and their families, and the destruction of homes, Wafa reported. It is estimated that over 11,300 Palestinians have been arrested in the occupied West Bank and East Jerusalem since last October. Human rights groups and international organizations have alleged widespread abuse of inmates detained by Israel in raids in the West Bank. They have described alleged abusive and humiliating treatment, including holding blindfolded and handcuffed detainees in cramped cages, as well as beatings, intimidation, and harassment. Death toll in Gaza reaches 42,718, says Health Ministry. At least 42,718 Palestinian people have been killed and 100,282 injured in Israeli airstrikes on Gaza since October 7, 2023, the Gaza Health Ministry said in a statement on Tuesday. Of those, 115 Palestinians were killed and 487 others injured in the latest 24-hour reporting period, according to the ministry, which has said in the past that thousands of other dead people are most likely lost in the rubble of the territory. Middle East Crisis Live. Northern Gaza smells of death after nonstop Israeli bombardments, says UNRWA chief. The smell of death is everywhere in northern Gaza after nonstop Israeli bombardments, UNRWA chief says.